Welcome to the London School of English. In this interactive live stream, we will share 25 useful business English expressions and idioms with you. And we will also give you important tips on how to understand the meaning of English expressions that might be new to you. At the end of the session, we will also have a regular question and answer session where we can answer any questions about learning English. So be sure to write your questions and comments in the live chat next to the video. And before we get to the main content, I would like to mention that this live stream is brought to you by the London School of English, where you can learn English both in our face-to-face classes and in our virtual classes, virtual groups online. And you can find out more by visiting our website, londonschool.com. So now, without further ado, let me introduce two of my colleagues, our expert English language trainer, Linda Stott, and my colleague from the sales team, Silvia Cupini, who helps our clients to choose the most suitable English training for them. Linda and Silvia, warm welcome to the live stream.
Thank you, Olga.
Hello.
Hi, Olga.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Sylvia.
And I also would like to say welcome to everyone who is joining us today. We already see that some of our alumni are joining. Hello to Frank. It's always good to see you. And please
Frank.
share in the comments next to the video with where you're joining us from today. So before we get to the main content where Linda will talk about those business English expressions, Silvia, a question to you. Could you briefly tell us how our English course participants learn English vocabulary and expressions during our classes?
Yeah, Linda will present several expressions, but usually the choice of the trainer idiomatic expression very much comes from the client's needs. So we're very thorough and quite strict that the lessons are very much around what the participants' goals and needs are, and that's how I guess the training, well, the choice of phrases will be chosen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So now, and Linda has a presentation now.
Good. Thank you so much, Sylvia. I just want to welcome everybody that's joined and also say two special hellos, one to Erica, who I'm busy teaching in my general English group. So I just want to say hi, Erica. Thank you so much for taking the effort to join us this evening. And also a special hello to Val and Harry. Good. So the big question is, what is an idiom? So here is a definition taken from the Cambridge Dictionary, and Olga will put up an image shortly that you can have a look at. So we've got the pronunciation. So it's idiom, and a group of words in a fixed order. This is quite important. It's a fixed order that have a particular meaning that is different from the meanings of each word on its own. So an example is to have bitten off more than you can chew is an idiom that means you have tried to do something which is too difficult for you. Good. So let's get started. I'm going to show you a text, and in the text, there are going to be 10 idiomatic expressions. And while we display it, when Olga displays it, I'd like you to read through the text and try and see if you can find 10 idiomatic expressions in this text. Due to COVID, many companies have had to think outside the box to adopt more creative and unconventional solutions in order to stay ahead of the pack. Generally speaking, many companies have been forced to change their game plan, especially as some sectors have become more cutthroat. However, I'm sure you will agree it isn't rocket science. Some companies have had to go out on a limb, taking more risks than usual in order to ensure targets are reached. In order to do this, lots of employees have been burning the midnight oil. The bottom line is that COVID has forced all of us to change, and to change at lightning speed. And for some, it has been an important learning curve. So there are 10 idiomatic expressions in this text. Feel free to, in the comment box, if you know these, then feel free to write them in the chat box. If you pick up any, feel free to write them in that chat box. It takes a bit of time to come through, so don't feel like we're ignoring you. As soon as I see them and I can, I'll mention the ones that you've been able to find. So if you want to move on to the next screen, Olga, where we can actually highlight those 10 idiomatic expressions. There they are. Great. So think outside the box, ahead of the pack. Well done, Ruslan. You got that? Yes. Think outside the box, ahead of the pack, game plan, cutthroat, rocket science, out on a limb, burning the midnight oil, the bottom line, lightning speed, and an important learning curve. So those were the 10 idioms in that text. And we're going to move on to looking at some of the meanings of these idioms. So the first one that we looked at was to think outside the box. And this is the ability to think creatively, or to think of creative or unconventional solutions instead of common ones, to go beyond a normal idea, to think outside the box. So very often visually we can get an idea of, even though we might not know the meaning of it, we can often look at the visual or think about it. To think outside the box means that you're not thinking like everybody else. You're thinking about different things, maybe more creative or unconventional or common or uncommon. Then the next one we saw in that text was ahead of the pack. And this is to be more successful than the competition. This is a lovely image that really gives us a good feeling of what this idiom means, to be ahead of the pack, to be more successful than the competition. However, in this image, we can see that very often these idiomatic expressions have a literal meaning as well, which means that you can, in this instance, in this race, you can literally be ahead of the pack of people in a race behind you. But the idiomatic meaning is to be more successful than the rest, than the competition. Then the third one was game plan. And this is a strategy or a plan for achieving success. A game plan, a strategy or plan for achieving success. The fourth one is cutthroat. I think, yeah, I love this this image. Cutthroat, very intense, aggressive, and merciless competition. Don't want to be coming up any kind of cutthroat competition, that's for sure. But it can happen, especially nowadays. Everybody's trying to get a slice of the pie. And so we could say things are a little bit cutthroat at the moment. Okay, number 5 was it isn't rocket science. So it isn't rocket science. Something isn't complicated to understand. In other words, we would say it's actually quite easy, and we would say it isn't rocket science, meaning you don't need to be a physicist or an engineer or whatever it is to figure out a simple solution or to understand something, really. It's about understanding. Good. And then the fifth one is, that is the fifth one, sorry. Then the sixth one is out on a limb. And this is a good one, out on a limb, to do or say something risky. well, we can see the woman in this picture is definitely doing something risky, and it gives us a good idea of the meaning of this idiomatic expression, out on a limb. Then the next one was, number 7 was burning the midnight oil. And this, the meaning of this is to consistently work beyond normal business hours. And I think probably we could all agree that right now with COVID, we're probably all doing a little bit of burning the midnight oil as we try and keep things smooth and running and jobs secure and so on and so forth. Then the eighth one is the bottom line. So very often in business, the bottom line could be a financial term. But in this case, in this situation, this idiomatic meaning, the bottom line means the most important point that you want to talk about. So the bottom line is that you need to practice, practice, practice if you want to improve your English. So the most important point that you want to make would be classified as the bottom line. Then the 9th one is lightning speed. And I love this image because it does give us the feeling that it is extremely quickly, that you do something at lightning speed, you do it extremely quickly. And again, the image helps us with understanding that. Then the 10th one is learning curve. So the learning curve is the rate of someone's progress in learning a new skill. So we can say a huge learning curve, a sharp learning curve, or a steep learning curve. So that's how the rate at which you progress in learning a new skill. It doesn't necessarily have to be language. It could be any new skill that you learn. I see we've had some new people join us, and I just want to acknowledge those people and say thank you so much for joining us. And we'll probably engage a little bit more towards the end of the presentation, so don't go anywhere, stick around. So we can see from this text that we had a look at earlier that some of these expressions are easier to understand than others. So my question is, what strategies did you use to help you work out the meaning of these expressions if you didn't already know them? So, of course, it's important to consider strategies in any skill that we look at or that we learn. If you have a strategy, it helps you sort through all the mess or the things that you don't understand. So we're going to look at, I would like to give you a few strategies that you could use in the future if you come across a text or if you hear somebody speaking, but probably more about reading at this point in time. What strategies can we recommend? So here are a few. So of course, always thinking in any of the skills or in any of the situations, thinking about the context or knowing what the context is, for sure, can help provide meaning, help with the meaning. So also looking at the words before the expression and looking at the words after the expression or words can help with the meaning. So for instance, in the first one, the explanation follows the meaning. So if you go back and have a look at it, you'll see that the explanation in number 1, we look here and we see, due to COVID, many companies have had to think outside the box to adopt more creative and unconventional solutions. So we can see that straight after this expression, think outside the box, they provide an explanation. And this happens quite a lot, not just with idioms, with other vocabulary or phrasal verbs, other difficult parts of vocabulary that could be difficult. Quite often, if you look at the word before, the words before this difficult expression or word, or the text after, or even later on in the text, quite often it provides the explanation or the meaning for you. So look around a little bit, investigate, and see whether there's anything in there that helps you with the meaning of that that idiomatic expression. The other third strategy is maybe you'll look at the idiom and the context and you'll think, okay, I understand that because we have something similar in our language. So a lot of Latin origin languages find it quite easy because maybe they have something almost the same that could help you. So try thinking about that. If you translated that into your mother tongue language, do you have something similar? Does it help you with the meaning? So a lot of people say, oh, it's absolutely important that I need to know this exact meaning of this word or this idiomatic expression. Well, yes, it is. At the end of the day, yes, it is. But in the moment of needing to read something or listening or moving through something quite quickly, is it really important to know the exact meaning? No, not in that moment. What is important is that you've got the general idea, and then you can keep the flow of that conversation or the flow of reading going rather than stopping and then trying to look it up in a dictionary or whatever. Try and use these other strategies first. Could be more useful for you. So the fifth strategy, I would say, is that basically, of course, now if you get to a point where I have Erica, my student, is really good at this. She hears things that are spoken in English and she writes them down, and then what she does is she brings them to the class and she'll say to the group, I heard this expression the other day. What does it mean? I heard it in English. What does it mean? So that's a good idea, is to write these things down. So she didn't go to the dictionary, which is great, because really what you want to do is you want to ask your teacher, you want to ask a colleague, or you want to ask a friend first, because what it does is it gives them the opportunity for them to practice speaking, and also to feel proud about or very confident about the fact that, oh, I know that, and I'm more than happy to tell you. So I would say, yes, a dictionary is important, but perhaps use the dictionary at the very end. If you've tried all the other strategies, you've asked your teacher, you've asked a friend, you've asked a colleague, and you still can't find the idiomatic expression, or you still don't get the meaning, then at the very end, go to the dictionary. Because you're more likely to remember if you figure it out yourself. If you find the strategy that works for you, you get the meaning and you remember it, you get the meaning, you're more likely to remember it than if you just go like an instant takeaway to the dictionary. Because if I asked you again in 2 minutes, you would say, oh, I don't remember. So better that you do a little bit of work. And when you've done that little bit of work, you might need to sweat a little bit. But remember, sweating and doing a bit of work does, in the end, pay off. We know this from exercising. So what other strategies do you use, and what would you recommend for other people who are watching here today and in the recorded session? What would you recommend for people? So, of course, there is a lot more to these idioms, and unfortunately we don't have that much time in this session to look at everything. However, there is one point that I would like to add, just a small part, is that of course pronunciation is always important, especially as native speakers often use connected speech, which can make it difficult to understand what's been said. So one aspect of connected speech is that we join two words or more together. So if a word ends with a consonant sound and the next word starts with a vowel sound. So I've got a little whiteboard which I've written the phonemic script on, and I'd like to share it with you so that I can show you what this connected speech is all about. So I'm hoping you can see my screen. So here we've got the idiomatic expression out on a limb. Now, if we were to write it in the phonemic script in a normal way, we would say out on a limb. Probably the Queen would say, out on a limb. However, when we speak as native speakers, what we do is at the end, the T ends in a consonant sound, and the following word is a vowel sound. So we connect this. So here we have a consonant sound and a vowel sound, so we connect it. So in the end, this is what it sounds like, out on a, out on a. So very often what happens is when we get this, students will come to me and say, oh, Linda, I looked for this word, outana, in the dictionary and I can't find it. And it's usually when we have this kind of issues with listening, it's because of this connected speech. So out on a limb, and here we can see that what's also important with pronunciation is the word stress. So we don't say out on a limb or out on a limb, it's out on a limb, out on a limb. The stress is over here. So these are the kind of things that would come up in an actual classroom. So what you see on these YouTube videos are not a full lesson, but certainly just a snapshot or a screenshot of a part of the kind of lessons that we give. Good. So, So I'd like to move on. So we promised you 25 idiomatic expressions. We've done 10, so we have 15 left to do. I'm going to give you another 10 idiomatic expressions. And what I will do is I'll give you the idiomatic expression, the meaning, and then an example. So should we begin, Olga? I think Olga's got some really nice, fantastic. So when we say back to square one is the idiomatic expression, the meaning to start something over again because a previous attempt failed. And the example is if we want to stay ahead of the pack, we will need to increase our advertising budget. Good. Then the second one we've got is by the book. And the meaning of this is to do things exactly according to the rules or the law. So, for example, we told our clients that we do everything by the book regarding COVID. It's a lovely image we can get. And that's the other thing as well, is that very often with these idiomatic expressions, we can get the context or we can get the meaning from the pictures. So sometimes when you're reading through a magazine and there's a idiomatic expression in, look at some of the pictures, because sometimes the pictures give us a clue about what the meaning of the idiomatic expression is. The third one is get down to business. Stop making small talk and start talking about serious business topics. So now that everyone is here, let's get down to business. This is usually an idiomatic expression that you'll hear probably at a meeting. You know, just before a meeting, everyone's having doing a lot of small talk and chatting, and the chairperson of the meeting would say, okay, right, everybody, let's get down to business. Let's do some serious talk about business topics. Then the fourth one is to go the extra mile. I love this one. Especially because I do believe the London School of English do go the extra mile. So this is when you do more than what people expect. At the London School of English, we go the extra mile to ensure that our clients have the best experience. And I'm very proud that we have a good history with this. And if you look at Trustpilot, you'll see it's not just something we're saying. We are doing exactly what it says on the box. Okay, good. The fifth one, which is also one of my favorites, is the elephant in the room. And this image clearly gives us an idea. So an obvious problem or controversial issue that no one wants to discuss. For example, we should have discussed the issue of moving online sooner, but no one wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. Yeah. Good. Then the sixth one that we're going to look at is touch base. And this means to make contact with someone. I will touch base with you next week. So we were having an interesting discussion, Olga and Sylvia and myself, before we started on the live stream, and we were just talking about how different idioms come from different cultural contexts. So actually, this particular idiom, touch base, is actually American, and I didn't know it, but it makes sense now. Sylvia was saying that it's got to do with, I think, baseball. So to touch the base. So anyway, but we do occasionally, I have heard it used in the UK, but also good to know about other idioms, because, you know, we're like a global village these days. So good to know a lot of different ones. But most of the ones I've mentioned here are common English ones. Okay, the seventh one is word of mouth, meaning something is given or done by people talking about something or telling people about something. So example, many companies rely on word of mouth to get new customers. And quite often salespeople say, this is the best kind of customer because someone has told a friend, this is a great school, or this is a great company, or this is a great product. And they go to the school or to the place or to the company, or they buy the product and they become loyal because this is this word of mouth idea. Then the eighth one, see something through. And the meaning of this is to continue until something is finished. So I'd like to see this project through before taking on another one. And I love that image because it does give you the feeling like you just want to get to the finish line. You want to see something through before you start the next race or the next project. And you just want to soak up that feeling. Good. In the ninth one, in a nutshell, and I think this image really does explain the idiom quite well, using as few words as possible. So in a nutshell, the best way to improve your English is to practice using it. So a very clear image of what this idiomatic expression means. And remember that we can also have a literal meaning with some of these idioms as well. Good. Then the last one in this series is twist someone's arm. And the meaning of this is to convince someone to do something that he or she does not want to do. So for instance, my boss thought the budget was a bit high, so I had to twist her arm to get her to agree. So the image, it's quite interesting because, again, you can twist your arm, and that has a literal meaning. You know, you can twist it and damage it. So it has a literal meaning, but in this situation, twist someone's arm is an idiomatic expression rather than a literal meaning. So we have 5 idioms left in this session. So for these last 5, I'm going to provide the idiom, and I'm going to give you 3 so I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to give you 3 definitions, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes to choose which you think is the correct definition. So one of them will be right, and 2 of them will be wrong. So if you want to start, Olga, we can have a look at that. There you go, up in the air. Very nice image, up in the air. So here we have, the idiom is up in the air. Here's an example sentence. Our worldwide expansion is up in the air. The definition is, does it mean it is undecided? Does it mean it's far away and not achievable? Does it mean you will always find it? Drum roll, bum, bum, bum. Is it A, is it B, is it C? Ooh, tension's mounting. I think it is. Can we reveal that? Oh, it's A. It is undecided. So if things are up in the air, our worldwide expansion is up in the air. It is undecided, possibly due to some situation. So we can see that very often these phrasal verbs can be confusing with their meaning. So it wasn't B, unfortunately, it was A. But good, I'm very happy that you made the effort to write in what you thought it was, and you took the risk, and you're not scared of voicing what your opinion is, even though you might not be right. And remember, we often learn from these kind of mistakes. So now, Sarah, Ruslan, and Pablo, you probably will always remember this idiomatic expression. Thank you so much for taking the effort to type in your answer and not being scared to be wrong. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Stand one's ground. So the example is, they tried to offer me a voucher for my airline ticket, but I stood my ground and got my money back. So the right answer, which is the right definition? A situation where you refuse to compromise. B, something that you do when you gamble. C, something that you do when talking on the phone. So, unfortunately, you can't call a friend. You can't look in the dictionary. And drum roll. Aha, a situation where you refuse to compromise. So they tried to offer me a voucher for my airline ticket, but I stood my ground. I refused to compromise. I said, no, I'm not going to take the voucher. No, I'm not going to wait until next year. I want my money back. So you stand your ground. Well done. Quite a lot of you. Natty and Ruslan, well done. Congratulations. You got that 100% correct. It'll be interesting. I wish I could speak to you guys live, because I'd love to know how you got that. What helped you to get the meaning? Did you already know that idiomatic expression? Good. Let's move on to the third one. Learn the ropes. So, for example, I started my new job last month. I'm still learning the ropes. Is it A, something you do when you go climbing? B, a sports term? C, learn the basics of something, especially a job. So I started my new job last month. I'm still learning the ropes. So we've got C. Well done, Natty. Well done. Well done, Ruslan. Yeah, absolutely. So again, if I was with you in the classroom, I'd be really excited to hear, how did you know about this? Was it the image? What was it? Was it the context that helped you get to the idiom, or did you already know the idiom? Well done, Erica! Woohoo! Fantastic. Well done. And Ali. Ali also got Pablo as well. All of you. Fantastic. Fantastic. Good. All right. So some of them are coming through late, so I'm hoping that I'm correct. I'm sort of congratulating you on the ones that you did get right, because it's obviously a little bit slower. It's quite frustrating, this. I would love to just be talking to all of you live right now. Anyway, so the next one, it's the number 4, is on the same page. And the example is, let's go over the details of the contract again to make sure we are both on the same page. So is it to be in agreement about something? B, to make sure we read the same page together? Or is it C, to make sure our page numbers are the same? I I wonder what it is. The tension is mounting in the room. And I can reveal that the answer is, haha, A. Well done, I'm not sure if it's my or May. Pablo, Tanya. Yes, well done. To be in agreement about something. We're on the same page. To be in agreement about something. Good. And then the last one for this evening, then we would have covered 25 idiomatic expressions. And the last one, Olga, if we could have our last image. Fantastic image, typical British businessman with his bowler hat and his umbrella covered in red tape. This new law is going to create a lot of unnecessary red tape. So does it mean official rules and processes that seem excessive and unnecessary? Official rules and processes that must be written in red? Official rules and processes that are necessary? So if you want to quickly write down your answer. And we can reveal that the answer to this one is A. It's official rules and processes that seem excessive and unnecessary. So we have come to the end of I've come to the end of my part of this session, and I just would like to thank everybody for your time. Thank you for logging on. Thank you for listening. And over to you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to write those in the comments box, and Sylvia and Olga and I will try and answer them as best as possible.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Linda, for this very interactive presentation. It was fantastic. What a game. And we also...
I just wish I could engage. I'm sure, Sylvia, you're an expert teacher as well. And I'm sure you understand what I mean by that, yeah? You want to engage with your students and find out what's going on.
And we had quite a lot of participation from everyone who's joining us today. I just wanted to address one question from Juspaj, who asked us to show the first slide once more. I guess maybe there was a reference to at that section we talked about back to square one. And I just would like to apologize because I forgot to put the correct sentence on the image. So I would like to show this image again. And Linda, if you could explain a little bit more, that would be great. So that image was back to square one. And the example.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Example, yeah, it was in reference to something else. So
yes,
this is
sorry.
my example.
Yeah. So back to square one, to start something over again because a previous attempt failed. So if this doesn't work, we're back to square one. So you go back to where you started. So you start at a point, you do something, it goes wrong, it doesn't work. And then you have to go back to the beginning part where you started from. So it's a loss of work because you're having to go back and try again. Thank you so much, Guspaj, for mentioning that, because that was an error on my part there. Yeah, thank you so much for pointing that out. You were going to say something, Sylvia?
A little, technical.
Glitch.
Yeah.
But generally we're quite smooth. So I mean that's a rare occurrence.
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult to show everything correctly, but we try.
Yeah, exactly.
And the question, both Sylvia and Linda, to both of you, what's the best way to practice these expressions? Are there any tips that you would recommend?
Sure. I think obviously when we do it in the at the London School, especially in our face-to-face classes, there is a lot of opportunity because the trainers organize a lot of role play activities where they facilitate the role play so that those expressions can be used in a very safe environment, which is the classroom. So if you get the pronunciation wrong, the intonation wrong, or invert words or get it wrong, is a nice and safe environment to practice them. But obviously, if you are learning online, I know Linda has a very clear idea of what students should be doing.
You mean, sorry, I was just looking at some of the comments.
Yeah, we were talking about before going live. Linda was saying that for her, obviously, when teaching online, people should just take one or two examples and try to use them within the next few days, you know, and get the language, make the language yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the key thing is we try and learn too much and take on too much. And I think the thing is you've got 25, excuse me, you've got 25 idiomatic expressions. I would say don't try and use them all. Maybe start off with, say, 2 or 3. Take 2 or 3 that make the most sense to you, maybe because they sound similar in your mother tongue. And maybe just take at least those 3, put them on a piece of paper, try and use one of them as appropriately as possible, and try and use it and practice, see what the reaction is. Maybe there's no reaction, because actually if you get no reaction, that's good, because it means it's working. And then go back and pick up another one and try that one. You know, don't try and use or learn all 25 at one point. That's insanity. So... yeah. You know, try, even if you took one and used one a week, you know, at the end of the month, that's a lot of extra expressions
Sure.
you've used.
I also think that sometimes idiomatic expression may not be part of the way you communicate in your first language anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you may, what is important, however, is to know the meaning. So when you hear them, then you know what they mean. And there is plenty of opportunity to do that with loads of podcasts, and it's used a lot in newspapers, in loads of kind of text. And I know that obviously in our lessons, the trainers try really hard to get authentic material so that you can really face what is real language in use.
Yeah. How can we learn
actually have a question from Ruslan.
Well done. Absolutely. I would say if this was a quiz show, you would win the prize for sure. You would definitely win the prize. And if you can produce that kind of beautiful sentence, I'm sure you could probably give us tips on how to learn the idioms in order to be ahead of the pack.
Great.
Well done, Ruslan. That's brilliant. Fantastic.
But I think I would say, to answer to his question, I think, and here Linda and I perhaps have a different opinion on how idioms should be learned. I think to be at the head of the pack is to get it right. So sometimes there is a philosophy, two way of thinking about idiomatic expressions, and there is the teachers who may think, oh, it doesn't matter, just say it. You know, if it's not right, people will understand anyway. And there is the other point of view where teacher says, no, you should definitely get it right, otherwise don't use it, isn't it? So I think to be at the head of the pack, just get it right.
Yes, I completely and utterly agree with you. However, I have to take my hat off. So there you are. There's another idiomatic. I have to take my hat off to people who actually try. So earlier on, when I asked what is the answer, everyone chipped in. They weren't scared about being wrong. And I think this is it with the idiomatic expressions is, yes, try and get it right. But if you don't be afraid of that. Because you've got to start somewhere and you've got to practice. So keep going, keep trying. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And I guess classes with us actually help people to feel safe and practice
Absolutely.
these expressions. So I guess, Linda, could you tell a little bit more about what, kind of how you would approach if somebody during the class said something incorrectly? What would be your strategy? How do you help people to kind of get it right?
Well, I think that we have a lot of error correction and feedback. So there would be a session where people might practice using the language. And if they got it wrong, there would be a session afterwards, either individually, we might tell the student individually, well, but through a slip of paper, you said that, but the idiom's actually that. Or you might highlight it afterwards for the whole group to see, because everyone could learn it. And say, this was said, somebody said it. It's not important who said it, but somebody said it. Is that correct? And so it's this constant recycling of the language in order to practice what is correct, practice what is correct, why is this wrong? And this is the way people remember. And very often, at the end of the session, you can start off and you can say, we're going to do 5 idioms. Does anybody know what these are? Very often people say, no, I have no idea what these 5 idioms are. However, by the end of the lesson, they'll say, oh my God, I've learned 5 new idioms, because you don't want to be going for learning 25 in one lesson. It's almost impossible. So that's why I said that this live stream is simply a screenshot of one small aspect of how the lessons actually work, because we would present them, check if anybody understands. We might be exposed to them through a reading. It could be a listening. It could be a role play that you practice using these afterwards, after you've learned the meaning. And then later on in the week or the following day, the teacher might start the lesson off saying, for instance, I can't think of any of the idioms we've done right now. And you might actually test, sort of in context, just say something and see if the group are able to produce it. And very often people are. You'd be amazed at how quickly people pick things up. But I think the key is always, with vocabulary, with anything, is to choose something that makes sense to you, rather than taking a very complicated expression that you have never heard of. You have nothing similar in your mother tongue, either in meaning or in translation of language. There's no point in doing that. Choose expressions that make sense to you and that you will easily remember. And even if you have an English friend, just try and you practice using them on your friends and see what they say. Yeah, I think that's what I would recommend. Would you like to add anything, Sylvia?
No, you're absolutely right. And so I also think that sometimes by getting it wrong in the classroom, that's where really learning happens.
Absolutely.
You're like, oh yeah, I got it wrong. And you'll make sure that next time you're never going to get it wrong.
Exactly.
Because it was like, oh yeah, that was the other word or the right order. So sometimes by making mistake, you actually, the learning sinks in.
And also there was one idiom, I can't remember it off at hand now, and it had horse, and the other guy said, no, in our country we say donkey, so it's just looking at these idioms and going, oh, okay, we use the same idiom, but we use donkey. Okay, I'll remember, if I'm speaking to an English person, I shouldn't say donkey, I should say horse, so it's just thinking a little bit outside of the box about language and what works for you. I think that's really the key and what is actually important.
Great. Thank you, Linda. And Sylvia, final question is to you. For those of our viewers who would like, for example, to improve their English and including new expressions, new vocabulary, spoken English, as well as many other things, depending on their specific goals. If they would like to take a training with us, what should they do? What steps should they take?
Yeah, well, I think what makes the London School special, and that is why we go the extra mile.
It sounds cheesy, but it really does.
It really is true.
Yeah, it is true.
I think we do take our time in the consultation period. I mean, if somebody contact us, says, "Oh, I like to do a business English," it's okay. Tell us why. Why do you want to do a business here? What exactly is your goal? And then perhaps at the end, it's not the business English that they really need. They may need a different course. So we take time to really listen and see what the needs of a person, are, and it's not only during the consultation period. So obviously what we advise in terms of course, that also happens when they walk into the classroom or they attend the virtual classroom. So the teacher listens very carefully of what their goal is and includes their requests within the weekly lesson. So I think there is a lot of attention to details, and this is, I think, what we do well.
And if people would like to book their training with us, what should they do?
Sure. So the best thing, I mean, there is different ways of contacting us. You could either email us, and there is an email that is the clients@thelondonschool.com. Your email may come to me or one of my colleagues. Alternatively, you can go onto our website. There are different tools. You can leave us a message on the page of a course that interests you. There is a chat box, so you can come and talk to us, or just pick up the phone. And we there Monday to Friday. So very, very happy to really take time. We've also had consultation on Zoom, all kind of forms, whatever suits you best, whether it's an email, a phone call, or a chat.
Great, thank you very much, Linda and Silvia, and of course, really huge thank you for taking your time and learning more about business English here with us on this live stream. I would like to mention that we have regular live streams and videos coming up on our channel, and some of them that are coming up very soon will be IELTS reading test, which will be next week, and then in a few weeks' time we actually have a very interesting live stream, which is fun Christmas films for learning English, and this would be with Linda at the beginning.
It's going to be fun because it's just close to Christmas as well.
Yeah.
So bring your Christmas hat and.
Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already, and we hope to see you very soon at any other events, live streams that we run. And as usual, it's a good tradition. Linda, Silvia, would you like to say a few words on this topic that we talked about just before we wrap up?
Keep taking risks and keep practicing.
Exactly. Just oh gosh, you got some good ones there, Linda. Rewatch this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Good self-study tool and listening practice.
So this video would be available right after the live stream, and you can watch it again to learn those expressions that we shared with you. On this note, we'd like to wish you to have a very good rest of the day, wherever you are in the world, morning or evening. And we hope you keep safe and well, and you keep learning English.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.